It's my dog.
Jazz clubs around the world are sitting empty, but jazz musicians will always have great music and stories to share. And since jazz fans aren't able to get out to hear great music, we will deliver jazz to you at home. Welcome to Jazz Home Delivery with Tim Tamashiro. Well, hello and welcome to Jazz Home Delivery. My name's Tim Tamashiro, and we're very, very happy to be here with you for 28 days in a row as we are part of the TD JazzYYC International Jazz Days, and we're doing a virtual festival. This is the only festival in Canada that hasn't been canceled. I'm really happy to be a big part of it. My name is Tim Tamashiro, and I'm just thrilled to be here with you. We have exquisite guests with us this evening. We have Elizabeth Shepherd and Joanna Borromeo, both vocalists, both keyboardists, and they are joining me right now from their living rooms. I assume living rooms, but homes anyways. There they are. Hello, welcome, Elizabeth and Joanna.
Hi there.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
It's always weird to figure out, who's going to talk first, et cetera, et cetera. But I'll start with Elizabeth. Welcome. You're outside of Montreal, about an hour and a half north. Is that correct?
Exactly. I'm in the middle of nowhere. Yeah.
Well,
The Laurentians. I can't disclose my location. Makes it sound so sinister. I'm literally at the end of a dirt road in the forest.
it's a pretty nice way to live.
It's good.
Yeah, that's great. Joanna is joining us from Calgary. Your home is in Charleswood. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
For maybe just a little under 2 more months.
Maybe a new place and maybe a new pet coming here very, very soon. I'm excited for you. Joanna and I both kind of live in the northwest of Calgary, so it's nice that we're practically neighbors. So welcome to the both of you. You're both incredible, amazing piano or keyboardists and singers. I'm kind of curious, do you do many solo gigs anymore? Elizabeth?
Not in a while. But I gotta say, it's kind of a luck of the draw. I happen to play piano and sing. I think of other instrumentalists who can't do this kind of thing, right? So I did something with the NAC at the National Arts Center, a solo show about a month ago.
Yeah.
And a few things coming down the line in the COVID era. So finding that again, that solo thing.
Yeah, for sure. And Joanna, I know you do some solo gigs, but you also have a regular gig at it's a speakeasy, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's called Betty Lou's Library. It's a very cool spot, and really, really great staff. So I would be there every Tuesday to be playing solo on a nice upright, but with how things have been going.
COVID happens. Yeah. Oh, man. Well, we're very happy to have both of you here with us this evening. Joanna, if it's all right with you, and I'm going to go over and talk with Elizabeth for a little bit here. Wait a second. No, the other way around. I'm going to do it the other way around. Elizabeth, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go and talk to Joanna. This doesn't have to be perfect. This just has to be fun, okay?
Nothing perfect.
Yes, exactly. There's nothing perfect. There's Joanna. There we go. I have a little applause button that I'm pushing right now. You can't hear it, but everybody out there is saying, "Yay, it's Joanna Borromeo." Joanna, you are a Juno nominated singer-songwriter from right here in Calgary, and I'm so happy to talk to you in person for what might only be like one of the very first few times. So thanks for being on the show.
Oh, and thanks for having me. Honestly, it's a real pleasure to have a chance to chat with you.
Thank you. I'll go on. This is something that I'm really interested in. You started off your studies in classical music, but then you didn't say you progressed. You had a continuation into jazz. Tell me about your music journey so far.
Yeah, well, so far, gosh, I'll give you the short version, but I was a classical pianist, and I had plans to actually audition for the classical music program in Toronto at the University of Toronto. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to just try jazz. Because I had a high school friend who we kept in touch with, and we just he was talking about jazz to me. And I was like, what's this? And yeah, and then he just introduced me to some records, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And I was like, well, if there's a jazz school in Toronto, maybe I'll check that out. And ended up auditioning for both. And I was like, well, I'm going to leave it up to the music gods to determine which direction that I go in, because
Really?
I just really didn't know which way to choose. And in the end, I had to choose because I got into both schools, and then I ended up going towards jazz because I was like, okay, I think I'm ready for like a new chapter. And
Yeah.
and that's how it happened. That was the progression, but the transition was a very bumpy road. I think my first year, which was years ago now, my first year was very, very rough. I could not even hack the blues form.
Really?
It was really, really challenging for me. The feel I got, but it was the new way of reading music, the new way of thinking about music.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like you said it was like learning a new language.
yeah. It was absolutely like that. Even though I was familiar with notes and rhythm and the basics and the fundamentals, um, it was assembling all of those things that was totally new. That was a new thing for me. It's like
Ah.
going from, if we would relate it to food, it's like going from one cuisine to something that's completely opposite in a way, but there's just something familiar about both, but you have to figure out what those things are. So
Yeah.
it was great. It was worth every sleepless night of just trying to play catch up, learning all my 251s, and then some. Yeah, but in the end, it
And a
actually
lot more. Yeah.
well, because like I graduated and it was really, I did well in school and got my first gig like even before I finished school, and that was like a regular weekly gig at the College Street Bar. I'm sure Elizabeth will.
The College Street Bar in Toronto. Yeah.
Yeah, playing with a band called Solar every Sunday. That was my first real gig. And it was awesome from there. So
Those it's interesting that I find it endlessly interesting that, especially coming from the world of classical music and then choosing to go into a different genre. You're not, well, you have fingers and muscular memory that helps you play the piano, obviously, but it's neural pathways that are changing up to learn a brand new language when you're learning jazz as opposed to a classical music background. So I mean that has to be hard work.
it was absolutely learning how to play chords and then melody, and lots and lots and lots of chords, which is something that doesn't necessarily get covered so much in classical music. Classical, there are chords there, but it's so melodically like laid out.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So it's really interesting. I had strong technical facility going into jazz, and then I didn't know what to do with it at the time, and it was just I had to listen to listen to recordings, listen to musicians, lift a bunch of music, learn by ear, and yeah, a lot of hard work, but definitely worth all of it.
What was the music that you leaned towards once you got out of college and you'd kind of gotten your jazz chops under you? How did you lean your music into something that was meaningful for you?
My own personal music,
Yeah.
well, I mean, growing up, I was always very much into R&B and soul music and hip hop and R&B influenced pop music.
Yeah.
So that has always been my, I guess my musical home. And so right out of jazz school, like going into that, that College Street Bar band, Solar, that I had gone and joined. Yeah, I went right back into it with full on R&B and classic soul and that sort of thing, and and I haven't looked back.
Really?
However, I do play gigs, as a side musician, and I don't play as much jazz as I used to, but it was still very, very much a part of my life, leading up to this time when I moved back to Calgary. Still lots of jazz gigs and that sort of thing.
And if you're playing, unless it's chamber music or something along those lines in the classical repertoire, you're not really playing with other musicians. Is that correct? Was that what your experience was?
Yeah, yeah. Everything was solo, and I didn't really get the opportunity to play a lot of chamber music because I just didn't get that far into the music program.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the University of Calgary taking that program for a little while, and I would have loved that. I think it would have been so much fun, but yeah, I guess it feels lonely.
Does it feel lonely?
I mean, I'm kind of joking, but it is a, comparatively compared to playing with a band and the, the vibe that you got that people share when they're playing together and locking in and communicating musically and understanding what the other person's thinking and knowing how to respond. That is magical to me. It's awesome, and it's a different feeling than just being up there on a stage by yourself playing a solo classical piece, which is also quite amazing and fun and everything. But yeah, I guess I really do enjoy playing with other people.
And we wish we could have a whole bunch of other people in the room with you today,
Yeah,
but
well,
the rules are totally different.
yeah. Next time.
Next time. I'm curious about who it was that you were listening to when you're going to, well, I don't know, maybe even just during your upbringing. You weren't listening to Chopin and Debussy all the time. You're probably listening to music that was meaningful to you. So what were you listening to that helped you lean more into this neo-soul sound that you have now?
Yeah, so I rarely actually put on a classical record, which is very odd now that I think of it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was growing up, I was listening to, Boys to Men, bands like that.
Belle Biv DeVoe.
Yeah, Belle Biv DeVoe, that's right. A lot of New Jack Swing, which was like the 90s for sure, Janet Jackson. And then, I got into, of course, Michael Jackson growing up was like a huge influence. And then Stevie Wonder as well, just in that Motown, that time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm drawing a blank, but in D'Angelo, when I got older, D'Angelo,
Sure.
Erykah Badu, those kinds of artists, Amel Larue,
Jill Scott. You mentioned Jill Scott.
Yeah. Actually, Erykah Badu and Jill Scott are going to do, I guess, like Erykah Badu versus Jill Scott kind of like Instagram show on Saturday.
Versus.
Yeah, and I'm like so pumped for it.
That would be amazing. I'm going to keep an eye open for that.
Musical heroes are just going to, do a musical battle. So,
that's great. A jazz battle. I do a regular jazz battle thing sometimes in the summer where musicians literally face off against each other. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it is.
You mentioned an album just before we get to your song coming up here, and you're going to be performing a tune of your own called Through the Dark. I'm really excited about this, but I wanted you to kind of talk to me about that first album that you heard that really changed what you were thinking in terms of music for yourself. Who was that? It was
it would have, oh gosh.
Is it Chick Corea?
Yeah, for jazz, for sure. That was the first record. It was a Chick Corea and Bobby McFerrin duo record. Gosh, that was just, I had no idea that music could do that. And so that really opened up my world a ton. And, that's part of the reason why I was like, okay, I got to learn this music, because the communication, the play, the space that the musicians left for each other, and the support that they offered each other, even though they were two very different instruments. It was just amazing. Yeah. So that was like a huge, okay, jazz.
Okay.
Thank you. And then I was like,
can you give it a try?
Yeah. And then getting into jazz further, I was like, actually, I had no idea how huge this world of jazz truly was. And so, yeah.
Wow.
That was such a big record for me. And for R&B, Erykah Badu's Mama's Gun record was just huge for me. D'Angelo's, oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank on that one record. Everybody knows which one.
Everybody knows that it's D'Angelo.
That one record where it's, it's just the best musicians are on there. And then, of course, him.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to hear your song. This song, Through the Dark, describe your thought process in writing this.
Well, I guess I wrote this. It's a 10-year-old song now, which is wild and wild to me. So I was actually still at school, and I just I don't know, when you're I guess when I was in my 20s, I was very much thinking about how people go through life making the choices that they make based on perhaps like the personal biases that they have. Nothing
Mm-hmm.
positive or negative. It's just we all, as human beings, have inherent biases for things and against things, and just wondering how that gets pieced together and how that influences someone's path through life. Um, and and just the whole idea of like, okay, well, how far are you going to let biases, I guess, I don't know, um, hold you back from something better, or keep you going on something that isn't healthy or isn't good for you or others. So
Yeah.
that I guess is what the song, I explore that in the song. And it's I feel it's really important to have a practical sense of the world, but also know how to feel feel through situations with like gut feelings and
Mm.
intuition. So it's that balance, like, okay, which way are you going to go with it, or can you work with both at the same time? And hopefully, you just hope that your heart's in the right place every
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what the song's about.
It's fascinating. Well, we want to hear it. In fact, we are dying to hear it. I got the applause button being pushed right now for you. We have Joanna Borromeo here with us on Jazz Home Delivery. Just want to remind everybody that we are all part of the TD JazzYYC International Jazz Days Virtual Festival, 28 days long of performing. Joanna, I'm going to give the stage all to you. Take it away. Here's Through the Dark.
Thank you. Reading stars might be a lost art. Counting the night to be your guide. When did we lose touch with keeping the obvious? The modern way points to many wrong signs. So lovely, all the colors of the rainbow, just like the number that's assigned to them. Keep and refuse, or gain and lose. Either way, we are the ones who choose. If there is any doubt in logic, then the impression is the key to the lock. If there is anything to rely on, here's some butterflies that get me through the dark. La 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 la. Inspired by discovery, almost hungered by what lies beneath. But so many of us turn away when it's too late, unmoved by our own insatiability. So attractive are the colors of the rainbow, just like the number that's assigned to them. Just like a moth to a flame, we get burned. Just the same, we are the ones who choose. Hey, 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 hey.
in logic then. The oppression is the key to the lock. La 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 la
Joanna Borromeo with her song called Through the Dark here on Jazz Home Delivery. Thank you very much. That was wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I was pushing the applause button for you, just so you know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I feel the
It's-
love.
This is the virtual world. Yeah, feel free to send love, make comments, and send applause on Facebook or on YouTube. It's wonderful to have you, Joanna. And boy, what a treat.
Thank you.
Joanna, I'm going to zip over now and talk with Elizabeth, and we have other people in the room. It feels like we're having a little house party here. Yeah. Bear with me here, Elizabeth. I'm coming for you. There you are. There's Elizabeth Shepherd over there. Hello.
That was fantastic. Beautiful.
It's a beautiful song. Yeah, it's wonderful. You and Joanna are both keyboardists and singers and songwriters. You have your chosen tools are vocals and keyboards, and I love that because it does literally make you indispensable.
Yeah. And portable, right? We're like the piano's like, well, not so portable, but it's a band. It's an entire, you got everything there under your fingertips. It's great.
I don't know if you remember this, Elizabeth, but the very first time you and I met was in Toronto at a place where you were playing piano and singing.
I remember very well, yeah.
It was a hotel, wasn't it?
It was a hotel, yeah. They had a jazz night there. This is, I don't know, 15 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, probably at least 13 years ago. Yeah. Yeah. Goodness, boy, we have aged well, you especially.
You're looking good too, Tim.
Oh, I feel good. I do feel good. So you did your show with Canada Performs National Arts Centre. That was a big national thing, and it's really great that the National Arts Centre really stepped up and is putting on shows on a very regular basis. I'm thrilled about that. But you're doing some more online performing now. Is this the new reality for you?
For a while. I mean, I'd rather this than not perform, which is the other alternative, right?
Yeah.
Was going to be releasing an album this summer with Michael Occhipinti, and we had a whole host of festival dates, and all the festivals have been canceled now. So yeah, just looking ahead and thinking, how do I stay connected to my musical self? Because it's one thing to practice, in the comfort of your home, but you want to share it. And also I find the setting goals, like having, okay, I have a show on this date, then I'm going to step it up and actually get that stuff together. Whereas this sort of, I don't know, I find this whole quarantine thing, time just is amorphous and stands still. And it's very difficult to sort of formulate any structure and sense of, deadline and routine and any of that. So
And do you miss
a show is a really good impetus.
You miss playing with people, do you?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. What I did for the National Arts Center show is I asked a couple of friends if they could play some tracks to click, and then I imported them into Logic, which is just a platform for mixing music, and played them their parts, and I played along. So it's just not the same though, because I feel like what Joanna was talking about, or what the beauty of jazz and that sort of interplay between people, and that it's a living, breathing thing.
Yeah.
And I'm missing that.
It's a conversation a lot of the times, isn't it?
It absolutely is. Yeah. And so you can sing along to something that's pre-recorded, but it's not a conversation in the least. It's
one-sided.
Yeah.
You love conversations. In fact, with your Montreal album, the album that was called Montreal, it's an ode to your hometown. And you literally went around talking to strangers to gather their stories of being Montrealers. And
Yeah.
that was the impetus for the songs that you chose to write. Tell us about that process.
Yeah, I mean, I was sort of tired of. I was coming out of a couple albums that were quite heavy and dense. I think becoming a mother, I felt like, oh my God, what kind of world am I raising these kids in? And so there was a lot of angst, and I felt like I want something joyful. I want something to celebrate, and I want to look outwards. I'm tired of navel gazing. So
Mm.
I thought I would talk to others, and thought, what better way than to speak to strangers? It will keep me on my toes. You never know. I like that element of surprise, like bringing the sort of the conversation and improvisation of jazz into the actual creative process.
Mm.
So I just wandered around the city for 2 years. It makes it sound like that's all I did. I mean, in my spare time, I would go and set out and be like, okay, I'm going off for the day. Can you watch our daughter? Sure. Okay, I'll be
Yeah.
back later. And just spoke to people. And what sort of emerged was that there were so many stories and layers of history to the city that I was unaware of. And so it took a bit of a turn, and the album is a bit of an homage to some of the less celebrated stories, if you will, and less celebrated pockets of culture in the city. There's the officials' history that everyone sort of knows about and is
Mm-hmm.
very much there and present. But I wasn't interested in that. I wanted more of like a people's history, and um, to me, the people are what make up a city or any place. And
That
so,
takes
getting to a sense of some of those individual
that
stories.
takes a real commitment to just go out into the world and just start a conversation with pure strangers. I love doing that. Personally, that's one of my treats in life. But I mean,
Yeah.
did you have to psych yourself up to do it?
Yeah, I mean that's why it took 2 years, right? I think
Yeah.
someone else could have probably done it in a month, but yeah, I'm kind of shy and introverted by nature, but I do love talking to people one on one. And when you get that
Mm-hmm.
moment of connection and you feel like, oh, I'm sort of seeing your soul, I find that really beautiful and enriching and nourishing. And so, it wasn't always like that. There were some people who were just like not interested or you're crazy,
Yeah.
and others who such gifted storytellers. It's like they were just waiting to be asked. Like, yeah, I'll tell you
Mm-hmm.
about myself.
Of course, I'd love it.
Yeah,
One of those
yeah.
one of those people was a gentleman that you met named Dino Clave. Dino Clave.
Clave, yeah, yeah.
What happened
And
there?
so French Canadians know him as the soap opera star from the show Omerta, which is on Radio Canada, which is CBC television in French.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know him. I don't watch soap operas, and let alone CBC French soap operas. Um, Um, so the backstory, I told my brother who lives in Toronto about this project, and I was saying, I just want to talk to as many people as possible. And my brother uses a wheelchair, and so when he comes to visit in Montreal, he takes the train and then requires the assistance of a porter at some point along the way. And
Mm-hmm.
Dino was the porter that day when my brother was coming up from Union Station. And my brother said, "You got to talk to this guy." And he shows me a headshot of Dino, that signed headshot that Dino had given him. So Dino is this all-round Renaissance man. He's a professional boxer. He's a porter. He's a jazz singer. He's a boxing instructor. Has his own gym. And is a soap opera star. The guy's amazing, and he's an incredible storyteller. And so I went down to the Via counter at Union Station and said, "Yeah, I'm looking for Dino Clave." And they're like, "Oh, he only works Thursdays, so you have to come back." So I went back, and they said, "Oh, he's not working this week." So it took a while, like some persistence, and finally I got to speak with him. And he came over to my place, and we had tea, and then went for a walk, and um, developed a bit of a friendship. And then I did a series of films for each of the songs on the album that sort of illustrate some of the stories and the people that I spoke to. And so Dino's in one of the films. So I went to his gym and have like shots of him boxing in the video.
Wow.
Yeah. And he actually came to the record launch and recited a poem called Requiem for a Boxer, even though it was his birthday. So this is just the kind of all around fantastic human Dino is.
And you wouldn't have gotten to
Um,
meet him had you not actually gone outside of yourself and wanted to
yeah.
find other stories out there.
No, exactly. I mean, that was the case with all of these, and I feel like, yeah, it's incredibly enriching to feel like you are learning and growing as a person just by virtue of creating something. It's sort of the best possible scenario.
We got to hear it. We got to hear this song now. La
Oh
Boxe.
yeah, so
And you helped me spell
this
it the
is
other day. It's Laboxe because it is officially en français. No, but it is not sung in. Is it sung in French?
it is sung in French.
We love it.
So I'm going to give you a little synopsis. It's about this fascination that we have with violence, and I feel like it's sort of in us in some level. Um, and I've always loved boxing for some reason. I don't box myself, but I love this idea that we can elevate this sort of very violent tendency to an art form. So it talks about that and sort of our demonization and simultaneous fascination with violence, um, and the beauty and poetry in that art form that is boxing.
Wonderful.
This is La Boxe. Quel animal s'agit-il ici ce soir, engourdi par son instinct batailleur? Une méfiante se présente tout autour pour soigner l'infirme et apaiser le cœur. Est-ce par amour propre ou honneur subtil, par courage pur ou nature oubliée? Peu importe ce qui t'attire au feu, c'est grâce à la bête noble qu'on se reconnaît. C'est l'évasion ou la gêne, notre plus grand défaut, qui nous fait tant tout se termine en chaos. On suit tes pas de près, mais toujours d'à côté, par peur de glisser dans tes emprunts. Qu'est-ce qui nous mène donc ainsi frôler d'un écart certain de la mort, la fin? Spectateurs divertis, on est témoins de force brute de nos ravages. Rien et tout pour apprivoiser un tel désordre, le grand inévitable. C'est l'évasion ou la chaîne, notre plus grand défaut, qui nous fait oublier que tout se termine en chaos. C'est l'évasion ou la chaîne, notre plus grand défaut, qui nous fait oublier que tout se termine en chaos.
Yay! There's Elizabeth Shepherd. Elizabeth Shepherd with La Boxe. here on Jazz Home Delivery. Ooh, you got into the stance and everything.
Uppercut.
Wonderful job, wonderful song. You always blow me away when I watch you play the keyboards and sing, because it's like you're playing the drums, and it just all the drums
I'm a
just happen
wannabe
to
drummer.
be. Is that right?
Absolutely.
You're so
I want
rhythmic,
to be drummer and I want to be bass player,
and I want to be
but I've
boxer.
asked a keyboardist. I don't want to be boxer. It's a great many. And I want to be mime
Yeah.
while we're at it.
That was such a wonderful tune, and I'm always so blown away at how you are able to do it all at the same time. It's absolutely amazing. I just want to remind everybody that we're part of the JazzYYC, TD JazzYYC International Jazz Day. It's part of the virtual festival, and we just heard music from Elizabeth Shepherd here on the show. This is a 28-day festival that is really the only festival that's going to happen for a while in Canada, so we're thrilled to be a part of it. And I am joined here by Elizabeth Shepherd, who has just performed her song La Boxe. You have a cover song for us as well, and I have to say thank you to you for introducing me to Nick Drake. I had never heard of Nick Drake until I talked to you the other day.
Yeah, it's a bit of a cult figure. I feel like those who know Nick Drake and love him are fiercely loyal, but there are few. And I got hip to Nick Drake through Brad Meldau. He did a version of the song that I'm going to do on an album eons ago. And then I sort of left it there and just appreciated that particular song, and then was asked to be part of a Nick Drake tribute with a bunch of other really, really great singers and songwriters from all different genres, and really got to know his music that way, in a deeper way.
He has a sad story.
What's that?
He has a sad story. Nick Drake.
Yeah. He wasn't with us long. He committed suicide, or it's not clear whether it was suicide. He died young. Yeah, quite young, and sort of rose to the acclaim posthumously.
Posthumously,
So he never knew.
Because he was really, in the folk world, from what I've been reading about since you told me about him, Nick Drake was this young up-and-comer, and he was like the Van Gogh of folk music. He just wasn't recognized until after he'd passed away, and goodness knows the way that he approached music and his songwriting prowess. It certainly was talking about a lot of dark topics, because he was challenged with sleep deprivation, and he was a very depressed young man as well. But the way that he wrote songs and the rhythm that he put into his songs is absolutely fascinating. To hear a 5/4 song from a folk artist is absolutely amazing, and that's what you're going to show to us.
Yeah. I feel like there's a real kinship with jazz, sort of this interest in odd meters and unpredictable chord patterns, and but yeah, maybe I'll just let the the music do the
let the music
the
speak for
talking.
itself. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you want to dig into it right now?
Yeah, I'll do it. This is Riverman by Nick Drake.
Thank you.
Betty came by on her way, said she had a word to say about things today and fallen leaves. Said she hadn't heard the news, hadn't had the time to choose, oh, where to lose, but she believes. Gonna see the riverman, gonna tell him all I can about the plan for
if he tells me all he knows about the way his river flows, all night shows in summertime. Betty said she prayed today for the sky to blow away or maybe stay. She wasn't sure, but when she thought of summer rain calling for her mind again, she lost the pain and stayed for more. Gonna see the riverman to tell him all I can about the ban on being free. If he tells me all he knows about the way his river flows, I don't suppose it was meant for me. Oh, how they come and go. Oh, how they come and go.
There she is, Elizabeth Shepherd with the Riverman, a Nick Drake song that she's covered for us. And thank you very much for that. It's I'm just so thankful that you've introduced me to this songwriter and performed one of his songs so eloquently. It's lovely. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for having me and for getting a chance to do this. It's fantastic.
This is this is one of my treats of my day now. Is I'm very much a people person, and I've missed people so much. But I feel like we've had a nice little way to be able to chat, all three of us. We got with us Elizabeth Shepherd and Joanna Borromeo, and goodness knows we are sure thankful for you being part of Jazz Home Delivery. Was that a fun experience for you?
It was awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and thank you for Jazz Delivery, for Jazz Home Delivery, Jazz Deliverance.
Yeah, Jazz Deliverance. It goes to show that all those fans jazz fans that are out there, and all your fans that are big supporters of yours. I hope that they get a chance to come and see you in your own setting, coming to you from your home to their home. This has been a real treat. Thank you for being on the show. Give us a nice wave and say goodbye to everybody. We're going to wrap it up there. Elizabeth Shepherd, Joanna Borromeo, and I'm Tim Tamashiro. Thank you so much for being a part of our show this evening. We have a few people we want to say thank you to. I want to say thanks especially to TD JazzYYC International Jazz Days presenters and the supporters that are putting this all together. We also have some thanks to say to our sponsors. Thanks for watching, and jazz tastes best when it's at home. JazzYYC would like to thank the following sponsors for their generous support that has helped bring this virtual jazz festival to you. TD, Jazz Home Delivery, the City of Calgary, Alberta Foundation for the Arts, the Government of Canada, Calgary Arts Development, Inglewood BIA, CKUA Radio, Calgary Public Library, CADME, the Coalition for Music Education Music Monday, Studio Bell, home of the National Music Center, Decidedly Jazz Danceworks, and the Music Mile. Thank you. If you've enjoyed this broadcast, please subscribe to this page, and if you want to receive more information about this or any of JazzYYC's other upcoming programming, please visit jazzyyc.com and become a member.